Oh, hey, what's happening there, YouTube? It's Brian House here for Housework, and today we are in the workshop and studio. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to be building some of the components for this big old massive workbench that I've been designing for the last 6 months. This has been a project that I started way back before the pandemic hit and then kind of got sidetracked with other stuff. And now it's just an absolute need that I have, and I'm going to focus on it and get it done. Now, the angle that you see that I'm shooting from is not my normal angle, right? You normally see me from somewhere over there and whatever, but this room is kind of big and it's got a lot of space in it, but I never shoot in this direction because honestly, back there, it always looked like crap. The wall there, I painted it last week and got it all set and prepped and ready for wall control. I'll be putting some wall control in there so that become a tool wall. And then right below it, which right now you see my old 4x8 workbench that's on casters that rolls around, that is going to be where the new workbench is going to go. Now that 4x8 workbench is too big and just bulky and it collects crap all day long and dust, and I want it out of here, so I'm going to get rid of it. And then we're going to start building the tool bench, the big old massive tool bench. Now, I sat down in CAD, I put this drawing together, I redrew it and redrew it and redrew it and redrew it, and based it upon a couple of different needs. I wanted it to be strong, heavy, and sturdy. I didn't want it to move. And if you know anything about me and casters, I love casters. I love my stuff to be able to roll around in here. But the difference with this bench is that I really wanted it to be like monolithic, right? Where it's bolted to the floor. I can wrench stuff on it. I can put a couple of big vices on it. I can really tug and pull on this thing, and it won't move. So that's like requirement number one. Number two is I wanted a lot of work surface. So this workbench is going to be 10 feet long, right? So it's got to be nice and big and sturdy. But I wanted some surface that would overhang so that I have room for like things underneath, or if I wanted to put vices on those ends, or like my bench grinders and things like that. I want to be able to put them there. And I wanted to incorporate removable drawer hardware storage. I really have a need for that. I have a ton of them over here. Let's see. Over here, you can see all my little HDX boxes, and I use those all the time, but they're a huge pain in the butt to remove because they stack and they clip together. This workbench is going to have 24 of those stored stacked up on both sides, and then in the center, Home Depot had a great deal on some DeWalt deep style versions of those for 10 bucks. So I bought every one in town that I could get my hands on. Anyway, that's kind of the story here. I am going to cut all the plate steel out on my Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro plasma table, and then we're going to start welding and fabricating and get the ends all built up. So the elephant in the room here, this guy, that's actually 1/2 of the workbench. I've already constructed it and built it. That is because I have discovered creating things on YouTube, or creating like big projects like this on YouTube, I tend to film everything I'm doing, but then screw something up halfway through. So this time, because of its sort of delicate cuts, I wanted to verify that it in fact worked before I actually filmed any of it, got that part of it done. So I made half of it already. It's just sitting right over there. It's a big, heavy thing, but we're gonna make the other half, and then we're gonna build the whole damn thing. So anyway, that's what that is. One of the things that I've learned about taking on big projects like this is that it's super important to break everything down into small obtainable goals. I think it was Mark Twain that said, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." When you look at the overall project that this table is, it is a massive undertaking. Even though I'm not building the butcher block top, I've purchased that from Home Depot, but designing the CAD work, making sure all the bins will fit, making sure I have all the steel, cutting all that steel, welding it together, all those things, plus getting rid of the old table, which doesn't sound like a hard task really, but in reality for me, because I don't have a ton of room in here, all the stuff that's on that lives on that, has to go somewhere. So today's goal, that's all I want to do today, was I wanted to film the intro to this video and then also take everything off of that table and get it ready for disassembly. And disassembly will probably happen sometime tomorrow. And then I'll sort through the lumber and figure out what's good and what's not, and then dispose of what I can't use or reuse. But those are just like small little tiny things. If you do one thing a day, one little tiny thing, even though it sounds like a small thing, it moves you towards your goal. And when you want to build something like a workbench and you really want it to be cool and you want it to look cool, you want it to function, you want it to be, you know, symmetrical, all those things, there's a whole bunch of stuff that has to take place before you even cut your first piece of steel. So today we're just going to really get that thing cleaned off and get it ready for disassembly. Now, one of the things I love about this old table is just this piece of conduit that spans across here, so I can put all my sandpaper and my tape on it, anything on a roll basically, but for the most part it's sandpaper and tape. I use it all the time, so it's going to pain me to take this apart, but this is something I'm going to incorporate in the new build. But yeah, great idea, super cheap to do, and makes for a really useful place to hold all your rolls of stuff. Let's get going. I got my socks on. I got my Argyle socks. We're gonna pull these up. Yeah. Get ready for quite the project. Okay, so the table is empty and ready for disassembly. It's late in the day now, so I'm actually not going to do the disassembly right now, but hey, one bite out of the elephant, that's done. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, it's the next day, and Dexter came over to help me to disassemble the table, so we're getting it out of here. Yeah. All right, so now that we've got the old table all disassembled and removed, let's talk about the side pieces for a second. These are the two big bookend stands that are going to go on either end of the workbench, and they consist of essentially 6 different pieces of steel. The two 36-inch pieces of iBeam, which I used a plasma cutter and then finished the cuts on, cleaned up the cuts, I should say, on my Grizzly bandsaw. And then you've got this top plate here. This is a piece of 1/4-inch steel, and it was cut out on the Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro. And then you got these two guys. These are just like decorative spans. They kind of hold the whole thing. They tie the piece together. And then you've got the feet. So it's really a simple situation here. Once you cut them all out on the plasma table and weld them into place, you can see how quickly it comes together. This thing is heavy, but it's designed to be heavy, and there's slots in the top of this thing that will actually serve as a place to screw the tabletop down onto it. So this is essentially welded flat, so the top will sit right on top of this piece. I really like how they came out aesthetically. I've always wanted to do something different with steel, make it look a little bit more artful or artsy, and that really these holes and these spans and the curves and everything I'm super stoked about, and I did that in Fusion 360. Now, to tie the whole thing together, there's going to be 2 of these. Right in the middle, you can see here I've got holes drilled, and there's 5 holes on each I-beam, and those holes correlate up with this piece of tube steel. This tube steel has essentially 5 holes, 5 small holes, 5 big holes, and this is so that you can slide bolts up into this, and this will tie the entire piece together, left and right. These holes were actually cut out on the Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro. I actually indexed these pieces of tube steel, set them up on the table, and because torch height control was enabled, I was able to cut these holes out perfectly. Just ran a quick cut sequence on there, and it did everything that it made great cuts. I'm super stoked, super excited about that. It looks really great. So these will be welded together. So if you can imagine, this is a short version of this, but these will be bolted up like this, and then these will run long way. This will be a 76-inch piece of 2x2 that will run between the whole spans and the base too as well. So all of our tube steel is cut. All we really now have to do is essentially fabricate the thing. I'm going to sit down at the Crossfire Pro. I'm going to cut real quick. I'm going to cut the other side of this and get it all tacked together. And then once we fit it all up, it's really just, finishing the welds, making sure it's all sturdy, and then paint. So Super excited, super stoked. Let's do it. First tack in it, put a clamp on there and basically line this up because it's never going to line up, but one of these little bar clamps helps significantly with that. Measure down here, we got 24 1/8, and then we're just going to do the same thing up here, 24 1/8. Turn this dial till we get there. That's it. And then you always want to check your other side because you never know if something got off. These are the feet here. It's gonna make, this is really super stupid simple. Basically set these on there and center them, and then we'll just put a couple of tacks in them to hold it on, but it gives it kind of a cool finished look. I really like that. You know, it basically gives a really industrial feel, and I love that. So, and I'm hoping I won't have to do a ton of leveling with this, that I'll be able to put it in place, and because it's so heavy it should auto level on the floor, but it's concrete, so you know, could be all screwed up, who knows. In that case, I'll, you know, grab some sugar packets and throw it underneath here, and that should true it right up. Alright, so this is how I've been doing it. This is just a 4-foot level, and you know, obviously stretch it across here. Get my measurement down there, make a mark. It's 3 3/4 of an inch, and then just kind of take the level and make sure everything looks true across here. Move it to this side and verify that it's true on that side. Now, you look at the bubble and you go, well, that bubble's not quite in the middle, and that's because when you go up here, it's also not quite in the middle. So a little bit of work here on this end to bring it, need to bring it up just slightly on this side. So, but yeah, that's how I'm making this happen. Alright, we're getting to that point in the build where I'm just getting so excited about actually having a workbench again in my workshop here. I just don't have a table set up right now. I just have my welding table, and it's getting a little old just using that thing. But we are getting pretty close to being able to weld together the two frames. Now, these two frames, the way I figure it would be the easiest to do would be to come over here and bolt these guys up to the I-beams, and then I would be able to level out, you know, the big pieces of steel across the big frames, and then weld those into place once they're done. So that's kind of the plan as of right now. That could change. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm starting to think about all the things I'm going to be able to do with having a workbench like this, and all the cool shots and all the things I'm going to be able to make on it. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to finish the red oak top yet. I was just thinking waxing it, oiling it and waxing it at this point. But super excited about it, guys. We're getting close. And then I got to pick a color scheme and how I want to, you know, make it look aesthetically. But it's solid for sure. Onward and upward, we continue with the build.
right, so this is a delicate balance here of magnets and clamps. I have this pretty much squared up. I'm just double checking this, you know, for square, basically back and forth. But it's coming together pretty good, and you know, just a little tap with a dead blow hammer every once in a while to kind of just true everything up. I have not welded any of this yet, so once I start tacking it together, there's really no going back. But yeah, it's very, very close, and making sure that my bins, using that bin as a measuring tool to set inside this opening, because this is where the stack of HDX bins will be on the outside, and then the DeWalt bins will be on the inside, 2 rows of them right here. So yeah, let's get there. So this is 1 1/4 by 1/8 inch. It's all I could really find locally. So I'm using that as my slats. Just set up some spacers. I use the wood blocks there for the bigger boxes, and then the smaller pieces of 3-inch steel for the spacers for this, and just tacked all the way up, and then finish my welds, and she's coming together quite nicely. I am really excited to have Workbench back. This is so exciting. I can't wait. Like I'm just so excited. I know it sounds silly, but it's gonna be great. So we're good. Hard to pick up on camera, but this color is really cool. It's like a blackish gray with a blue hue to it, and I am very, very happy with that. It's kind of what I was looking for, so yeah, it's looking good. Now I'm going to roll and brush some of this on there. This should only take me, 4 or 5 days. I'm kidding. I don't know how long it's going to take. All right, the first coat is on. It actually wasn't that bad. It went on pretty quick, even though I hand rolled it. It's really hard to see the subtleties of this gray, but it is very, very cool. It's like a gray, dark gray with a slight twinge of blue in it, which I really dig. So it's coming together quite nicely. I'm super excited. One step closer. Come on. This is just, I might, it might be a little bit of the fumes. It's very stinky in here, but yes, this is amazing. I haven't hit all angles on this thing. I don't know how granular I'm going to get with the paint, but I wanted it to kind of feel like a ship. When they put real thick coats of oil-based paint on a ship, That's what I wanted this to feel like when I painted it, and I really feel like mission accomplished on that. And I think this is definitely going to be either blue or red. I don't know. We'll see. But going to call it a night, let the paint cure, and I'm going to put one more coat of paint on this thing, and then we can get to the top. Okay, so the Rust-Oleum paint that we just brushed on, I gave it 2 days to dry. Everything looks great. I hit it with some Scotch-Brite so that it will just kind of smooth everything out. I'm not really interested in the finish of what that paint actually looks like. I'm more or less concerned about protection and coating and all of that. So happy with that. Also now, because we are at this stage where the thing is like sitting there just begging to be topped, yeah, I think it's time. We're going to take that 10-foot long piece of oak and we are going to lay it on top. And the beauty of working by yourself is you get to be creative with the amount of engineering that you have to do in order to accomplish something like this. You know, not a big deal. We can do it. A little bit of creativity. And then we're going to sand it down, make it smooth, coat it with some tung oil, and then finish it off with some furniture wax. Yes! All right, guys, there you have it. I am already feeling 10 times more efficient by having all my bins easily accessible with all my hardware and all my little stupid things that I got all going on in this workshop. Also, you saw I added the power strip to the top. I felt like it's always a good idea to have more power outlets, right? And that's a really cool one I got on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description so you can find it. I really enjoyed building this and filming it and sharing it right here on YouTube. So if you feel like you got something out of today's video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you click that little bell, you get a notification every time I upload something to YouTube. Because in the next video, I'm actually going to be mounting that Wilton vise. And that is something that I've always wanted. I've never had one like that. And I now am blessed to own one. So we're going to mount that and we're going to do it the right way. So if you click that little bell, you get a notification every time I upload a new video to YouTube. There are so many ways you can support my channel. You can go to Patreon, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee, you can click the links down in the description that will take you to my Amazon store. I get a little kickback if you buy something from in there, and all the tools and supplies, everything I have in my workshop and studio is listed down there, and you can kind of see all my tool recommendations for your workshop. That is a huge help. Also, you can go to my website, housemade.us, and you can buy the pieces, parts, and plans for the Revolution 2x72 belt grinder project we launched right here on YouTube almost a year ago. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I truly appreciate you. I hope you're all doing really great. My name is Brian House, and this has been Housework.